What's happening, Sonic Explorers? Trumpeter Bobby Spellman here, and today we are going to talk about a musical instrument that has existed in human culture since time immemorial. On this exciting episode of...
What the is that?
What is that thing, dude?
Alright, so what the is this thing? Well, if you were clever enough to read the title of the video before you clicked on the link, you will know already that this is a conch shell. Now, before you come at me in the comments, there are two pronunciations of this word. In England, they will typically refer to this as a conch, but here in the United States of America, we typically say conch. Now, you can say whatever you want, and I don't care. But either way, the name conch is a common name that refers to a wide variety of medium to large-sized marine snails, or marine gastropods, as they might otherwise be called. If you see one of these in the wilds, in the ocean, floating around in its shell, it'll look something like this. Kind of an interesting little character there. Now, these mollusks are often eaten around the world as seafood, but once they've abandoned their shells for whatever reason, we musicians have taken them and turned them into horns. Now, these things go back, playing these as musical instruments goes back very far. There's evidence of conch shell trumpets being used as early as 17,000 years ago. So that's pretty impressive. So these, for a long time, since prehistory, have been used as musical instruments, typically as a signaling instrument in war or in religious rituals and ceremonies of various kinds. And even to this day, across the world, they are used in various religious ceremonies and things of that nature in cultures all over the world. This is a great sound on this. Now, this is a shell, and the way that it is prepared to be played as a musical instrument is the tip is typically cut off. And sometimes that tip can be replaced with a mouthpiece or some wax or something of that nature to make it a little bit easier to play on your face. But the moral of the story is, once the tip is cut off, it can be played just like a trumpet using an embouchure, buzzing your lips into the end of the conch shell. So just like I was playing a trumpet, I can buzz my lips into the end of this particular shell, and I'm going to get something like this. Now, I have a couple of these here. I have a small collection of 4 of them that I will show you, but I'll give you a little idea with this one on how these instruments work. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is you can find these all over the place. I found mine in varying different places. This I found in a thrift shop in Connecticut, and I came upon it and noticed there was already a hole cut in it, and I stood in the back and quietly tried to play it, and it came out. And everybody in the shop looked around. But anyway, I bought it for very little. I found one of these on the internet. I found one of them in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They're around, you know. There's these marine gastropods all over the world, so they leave their shells. Anyway, this instrument works like this: is you have basically the fundamental pitch, just like on a trumpet. Then, just like on other brass instruments, you have the next harmonic up. So, just by changing the nature of the way that you're playing the instrument, you can reach an octave above that note, and that sounds like this. Now, from there, it gets a little slippery, so you can play higher notes, but it doesn't slot the same way a trumpet or a trombone or a French horn or anything like that would. It sounds like this. So it's a little harder to use that upper register. However, you do get a bunch of notes out of it by putting your hand inside the shell. So the farther my hand is in the instrument, the lower it goes. Typically, I can get about a major third, but it goes all the way down to a fourth if you can really go for it. It sounds like this. So if you're careful about it, you can play scales. Now, it's only a 4-note scale, something like that. I guess you can get a couple more if you're doing it chromatically. But nonetheless, you can get some nice sounds out of it, and you can use it in musical settings beyond just the initial pitch. Now, in the modern world, this is played at times by improvisers and other people who are otherwise brass instrumentalists, I should say. And the most famous of those in the modern world is trombonist Steve Turre. And Steve Turre is famous for playing conch shells of various sizes in his performances, and I will put a link in the description below to a video of Steve Turre playing these things and getting a really amazing effects out of it. All right, so let me show you some of these other ones. So they come in varying sizes, and with each size comes different pitches. The very first conch shell that I got is this smaller guy. It's got a higher pitch. Once again, the end of the tip of the shell was cut off, probably with a very fine saw, and so you can play it just like a trumpet. I got a higher pitch on this one. Once again, you get the octave. A little slippery, and then I can change the pitch by putting my fingers into the opening of the shell to various degrees. So there's a lot of possibilities with that. So that's the highest of the shells that I have. I also have this one that was given to me by my in-laws. At one point, they found it once again in a thrift shop someplace. People don't know what these are. This is a good example because it's got a big, giant shell, but a very small hole in it, which is very difficult to play, but it's certainly possible. Look at this, very pretty. I mean, somebody was selling this as a decoration, but to me, it's a musical instrument, if I can play it. We're going to try this one out. It's a little tricky. So as you can see, not all of them are equally easy to play. This last one I found in a very interesting little shop in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on my honeymoon back in the day. This is my favorite of them. It's got a very deep, rich tone. It's a huge shell. It's got a pretty big mouthpiece kind of situation hole in there. It sounds like this. Let's see if I can get this to sound. So this one sounds better in the low register. It's harder to play in the upper register. They're all different. You're talking about mollusk shells, so you're going to get all kinds of different stuff. There's no uniformity here. I was able to hear people playing this in sort of a traditional fashion in French Polynesia many years ago, and they would use these horns to signal boats as they came into the dock, and it was really pretty cool, you know. A lot of interesting stuff done with these kinds of shells. Now, the way that I typically use these are in improvisational settings, in free improvisational settings. That's often how people will use them in the brass world because it's free improvisers and improvisers of all kinds are always searching for various different tonal colors to use, and this gives you a really kind of an interesting, different sound. So one example in which I might use it might sound like this. I also often like to use these as sort of rhythmic instruments or instruments to create kind of a background texture in a piece of music. Sometimes I can play this thing kind of like a cuica. It might sound something like this. It's a really cool sound. So in a couple of videos ago, I did a presentation on the slide trumpet, and I posted a video that I called Slide Fiasco. It's a piece that I wrote for 3 slide trumpets and some Moog synthesizer and some other instruments. And one thing that I put on there was a little background part played by a couple of conch shells. So I'll give you a little breakdown video of what that sounds like in that context. This is just another way that I like to use these things, and that sounds like this. All right, finally, I like to use these things to create a little additional sonic texture when playing with my brass band Dingonek, and that sounds a little something like this. Alright, and if you want to check out a little bit more conch shell played in that kind of a musical context, you can check out our new album, Arwe, that came out a couple months ago. I played conch shell on a couple of these tracks. I'll put a link in the description below to the Spotify record if you want to check that out. Or if you want a vinyl record of your very own, I'll put a link in the description below as well if you're into that kind of thing. And you can hear conch shell as played in a brass band. All right, gang. Well, I hope you had fun with that. Go out and find yourself a conch shell and see if you can learn how to play this thing. It's very much like a trumpet or a trombone or a French horn or any other brass instrument, and that you're just creating an embouchure buzzing into it, and then you can move the pitches around. You really only get about 4, 5, 6 notes out of it. It's only an interval of about a fourth. But that being said, there are some great musicians out there who have been able to use these things to great effect to really come up with some amazing musical experiences. Now, one other thing I'll throw in there, because I think you'll have a good time with it, is my friend Chris Ott has a whole orchestra of these things. He's put together quite a wide collection of them, and he's got a video on YouTube now of him playing Bob Marley's Three Little Birds on about 1 million of these things. So I'll put that in the description below. I think you'll get a kick out of it. All right, gang, if you like that video, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support the creation of new videos like this one, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Ridgewood School of Music. All right, gang, I hope you had fun with that. Happy practicing, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. All right, gang, thanks so much for checking out this video. We hope it helps in your quest for the majesty of musical self-expression. The Ridgewood School of Music is currently accepting new students for lessons online or in person in the Brooklyn, Queens, and New York City area. If you'd like us to help set you up with the perfect teacher for the instrument or style that you're interested in studying, you can find us on our website at www.ridgewoodschoolofmusic.com, or you can shoot us an email at ridgewoodschoolofmusic@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to support the creation of new videos like this one, you can find us on our Patreon at patreon.com/Ridgewood School of Music. There, as a subscriber to the Patreon, you can gain access to bonus content, including bonus videos, exercises in improvisation and different instruments, as well as bonus transcription videos. So, if you'd like to help support the creation of new videos like this one, find us on our Patreon, and it's a real big help. All right, gang, have a wonderful time practicing, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.